Fear may visit, but it never has to stay. That one truth can change the way you see everything. Because the real problem isn't fear itself, it's believing it's permanent. It's thinking that panic attacks will always control your life. But listen closely. Panic attacks and fear are not forever. That's not just a title. It's a decision. It's a fact. You don't have to live the rest of your life trapped in cycles of anxiety. You don't have to keep pretending you're fine when you're breaking inside. You don't need to fake confidence just to get through the day. What you need is clarity. What you need is a way forward. This video will give you that. Step by step, through real tools, powerful truths, and daily actions. No fluff. No empty promises. Just the truth you've been needing to hear, said in a way that finally clicks. If you're tired of fear calling the shots, stay with this. This is how everything begins to change. Chapter 1. Stop pretending you're okay and feel what's real. You don't have to keep pretending anymore. You don't have to act like you're fine when you're not. And you don't have to keep hiding how you feel just to look strong in front of others. Because the truth is, strength is not in pretending. Strength is in honesty. It starts with being honest with yourself. It begins the moment you stop covering up your pain and finally face it. Most people walk through life hiding what they truly feel. They smile when they're hurting. They stay busy to avoid their own mind. They laugh around others, but cry when they're alone. And deep down, they know they're struggling. But they keep pushing it down because it feels easier than facing it. That's not life. That's survival. And you weren't made just to survive. You were made to grow, to become more, to live with peace in your heart. Now listen closely. If you've ever had a panic attack, you know what I'm talking about. Your chest gets tight. You feel like the air's being stolen from your lungs. Your hands shake, your heart pounds, and your mind? It tells you that something terrible is about to happen. And it's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't been through it. People say things like, just calm down, or it's all in your head, and that makes you feel even more alone. But the problem isn't that you feel too much. The problem is that you're pretending not to. Real change starts the moment you stop running from what's inside, the moment you sit with your feelings and say, this is what I'm going through. You might not like what you see, you might feel weak, you might feel embarrassed, but facing it is the only way to move through it. Denying it won't fix it, hiding it won't heal it. The feeling it, that's where healing begins. A lot of people carry pain from years ago and never talk about it. They've learned to push it down and distract themselves with work, with noise, with anything that keeps them from being still. Because when you sit still, the truth comes up. And that truth can hurt. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's shame, maybe it's pressure to be something you're not. But if you never feel it, you'll never free yourself from it. I've talked to people who looked successful on the outside but were falling apart on the inside. They had money, they had friends, they had everything people dream about. But inside, they felt empty. Why? Because they didn't deal with what was real. They didn't face their fears. They never stopped pretending. And the longer you pretend, the heavier the pressure gets. You see, fear grows in silence. Panic grows in darkness. The longer you avoid your emotions, the stronger they become, and one day they hit you like a storm, out of nowhere. That's what panic does. It sneaks up on you when you've ignored the warnings. It forces you to feel what you've spent years avoiding, and in that moment you realize, pretending never helped. It only delayed the healing. You have to learn to sit with the discomfort, to feel the fear and not run, to admit, I'm not okay right now, but I'm working on it. That's real power. That's where life begins to shift. You're not broken because you feel panic. You're not weak because fear shows up. You're human, and humans feel. But what makes the difference is what you do with those feelings. You can't fix something by pretending it doesn't exist. If your house had a leak, you wouldn't just throw a rug over it and hope it stops. You'd look at the source. You'd find out where it's coming from. You'd fix it at the root. Emotions work the same way. You have to get to the root. What's really bothering you? What are you afraid of? What's the thing you keep avoiding in your mind? And listen, facing your feelings doesn't mean drowning in them. It means naming them. It means saying, this is fear. This is sadness. This is anxiety. And once you name it, you give yourself space to deal with it. You take the power back. When you stop pretending, you stop giving your fear all the control. Most people never do this because they're afraid of judgment. They think, if I say I'm struggling, people will think I'm weak. But here's what's true. The people who judge you don't have your life. They don't carry your weight. And they're not the ones who have to wake up with your mind every morning. So why live for their approval? Why keep hurting just to look okay? The greatest growth in life comes from honesty. The day you stop acting like you have it all together is the day you start putting it together for real. You don't grow by avoiding. You grow by facing. And if fear is showing up, it's trying to tell you something. Maybe it's telling you to slow down. Maybe it's telling you to stop people-pleasing. Maybe it's telling you to get help. But you'll never know if you don't stop and listen. And I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying it's comfortable. But I am saying it's necessary. You can't build a better life on a lie. And pretending you're fine when you're not is a lie that keeps you stuck. You need to give yourself permission to feel. That's where it starts. Sit down somewhere quiet. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Don't try to fix it yet, just feel it. Just sit with it. That takes more courage than most people have, but that's the kind of courage that changes lives. That's what builds peace from the inside out. Now here's what happens when you do that consistently. You stop fearing the panic. You stop fearing your own emotions. You realize that feelings are just signals. They're not facts. You might feel like you're in danger, but you're not. You might feel like you're not good enough, but that's not the truth. You begin to separate feeling from reality, and that's where the freedom starts. Freedom doesn't come from pretending. It comes from being real. It comes from owning your story and then choosing to rewrite it. You don't have to carry this forever. You don't have to keep faking smiles. You don't have to keep saying, I'm fine, when you're breaking inside. There is nothing wrong with needing help. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm going through a hard time. That is strength. That is growth. That is healing in progress. And once you stop pretending, you give others permission to do the same. You show them what real strength looks like. You become the light for someone who's still trapped in the dark, because they see you being honest. They see you being real, and that inspires them more than any perfect image ever could. You deserve to feel peace. You deserve to feel in control of your life again. But to get there, you have to be willing to stop pretending. Newale, wachbin ne igili ahwe nagava, wachbin ayali. To feel what's real, to face what hurts, and to start doing something about it. One small, honest step at a time. It might take days, it might take weeks, but you will get stronger. You will feel lighter. You will rebuild yourself. Because panic attacks and fear, they are not forever. They are moments. They are signals. and they can be overcome, but only if you stop acting like everything's fine and start facing what's true. And the truth is, you're capable, you're worthy, you're not alone, and you don't have to fake anything to deserve peace. You just have to stop pretending and start healing. Chapter 2. Face the fear you always avoid in silence. You can't wait around for something to push you anymore. You've done that before, haven't you? Sitting there, hoping the feeling would come, that spark, that drive, that burst of energy that finally makes you want to get up and do something about your life. But here's the truth most people avoid. Motivation doesn't show up on its own. And when it does, it never stays long enough. You can't keep living like you're waiting for a permission slip to act. That's how time slips away. That's how people lose years. That's how you get stuck in the same place, thinking, dreaming, but never doing. Some mornings you're going to wake up and not feel like doing anything. You won't feel inspired. You won't feel excited. You might even feel stuck or low or completely disconnected. But what you do in those moments will decide your future. Not what you feel, what you do. Because people who build something strong in life aren't the ones who always feel ready. They're the ones who move anyway. They show up without energy, they keep going without motivation, they choose action over excuses. When you sit around waiting for motivation, you give your power away. You hand over control to your emotions, and emotions, as real and valid as they are not always reliable. One moment you're up, the next you're down. And if you only move when you're in the mood, you'll barely move at all. You don't need to feel like doing it to do it. You need to make a decision. Right now. You need to decide that, even if you feel tired, even if your mind resists, even if your heart's not in it today, you're going to act anyway. That's how real progress happens. Discipline is a decision, and you're capable of that decision. You don't have to keep depending on a wave of excitement to get things done. You can build something deeper, something stable. You can create your own energy by choosing to move. And once you do that enough times, you train your mind to stop waiting and start leading. You become the one in charge, and that changes everything. Think about all the times you told yourself you'd do it tomorrow. I'll start next week. I'll do it when I feel more ready. But did that day ever come? And even if it did, was it consistent? Or did it pass just like the others? You see, we create delay by trying to feel right first. We try to align our emotions before we take action. But the truth is, it's the action that changes how we feel, not the other way around. Action leads, emotion follows. You've got to get used to doing things without waiting to want to. Whether it's working out, studying, starting a new habit, breaking an old one, none of it requires you to feel like it. It requires you to step in and take charge. The first few minutes might feel hard. You might feel heavy, resistant, uncomfortable. But if you push through those first few minutes, everything changes. Your mind starts to follow your movement. Your energy builds. Your focus sharpens. But you only get there if you start. You only reach that place if you stop waiting. Some of the strongest people you admire didn't build their lives on motivation. They built it on routine. They built it on small choices they repeated every day, whether they felt like it or not. You won't always see results right away, and that's what makes it hard. You'll do the right thing today and feel like nothing's changing, but you need to keep going. You need to keep building when no one is clapping for you. Well, you need to keep showing up when no one's watching, because that's what creates strength. That's what builds trust in yourself. There's power in proving to yourself that you don't need to wait, that you don't need ideal conditions, that you don't need a perfect mood. You just need a reason that's bigger than your excuses. And you have that reason. You want peace, you want strength, you want to feel proud of who you are becoming. And that doesn't come from waiting for the right mood. It comes from doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when it's uncomfortable. And I'll tell you something, when you start acting without waiting, something deep inside you shifts. You stop being a slave to how you feel. You stop getting stuck in your head. You start trusting yourself more. You begin to see that you're capable of doing hard things without needing to be pushed. You become the one who creates momentum. And when you create momentum, you create change. You might not feel like going to the gym today. You might not feel like reading that book. You might not feel like journaling, meditating, practicing, building, cleaning, showing up. But if you do it anyway, you win. That's a win you carry with you into tomorrow. That's how self-respect is built, not by doing things when they're easy, but by doing them when they're not. That's where pride comes from. That's where confidence grows. Confidence is not about always feeling good. It's about knowing you'll show up anyway. It's about knowing you'll do what needs to be done, no matter what kind of day you're having. That's what separates people who rise from people who stay stuck. It's not intelligence, it's not talent, it's not luck, it's consistency. And consistency is born from action, not emotion. Start now. Don't wait for a spark. Don't wait for the right time. Don't wait for the fear to go away. Don't wait until you have everything figured out. The truth is, most people never feel fully ready, and that's okay. You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing. Willing to take the first step, willing to try, willing to fail and get back up, willing to put in the work without a guarantee. Because here's the secret. The motivation you're waiting for, it's hiding on the other side of action. It shows up after you start, not before. You don't think your way into energy. You move your way into it. Start small if you need to. 5 minutes, one task, one page, one step. That's all it takes to begin building momentum. And once you have momentum, you're no longer waiting. You're creating. You're moving. You're changing your life by what you do. Don't fall for the trap that says you need to feel amazing to do amazing things. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen when you're tired, when you're low, when you're doubting yourself. But you act anyway. That's when you build the strongest version of you. Not the one who waits, but the one who acts. You have that in you. You've just been told to wait for the perfect feeling. You've been told that motivation comes first. But now you know better. You know that real change comes from pushing through when it's hard. You know that results come from action, not feelings. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. Not because the task gets harder, but because the delay creates mental weight. And that weight becomes overwhelming. It turns simple things into heavy things. But when you do it now, the weight doesn't build. You stay light. You stay clear. You stay in control. That's what I want for you. To be in control again. To stop living at the mercy of your emotions. To stop depending on feelings that come and go. To build a structure around your life that keeps you moving no matter what season you're in. This is your moment. No more waiting. No more excuses. No more telling yourself you'll start when you feel better. You want to feel better? Do the thing you've been putting off. You want to feel alive again? Get up and move. Take the first step, not because you're ready, but because you're done waiting. The future belongs to the ones who act, not the ones who feel like acting, but the ones who show up anyway. Be that person. Become that version of you, and when motivation finally does show up, you'll already be ahead, because you didn't wait for it, you built without it. And that's how you take control of your life. Starting now.
Chapter 3. Accept that panic feels bad, but won't kill. Panic feels overwhelming. It can hit you in the middle of something normal, while shopping, while driving, while sitting quietly. Suddenly your heart is racing, your chest feels tight, your hands start to sweat, and your mind spirals into worst-case scenarios. In that moment, it feels like something serious is happening. Your body reacts like you're in real danger, but you're not, and that's what you need to remind yourself. It feels terrible, but it won't kill you. One of the biggest breakthroughs comes when you finally accept that panic attacks, no matter how strong they feel, cannot harm you. That moment of clarity changes everything, because the fear of panic is often worse than the panic itself. People fear losing control, they fear passing out, they fear something going wrong. But what's really happening is your nervous system is in overdrive. It's misfiring. It's telling you something is wrong, even when nothing is. The sensations are real, but the threat is not. If you've ever had a panic attack, you know how intense it can be. Your chest tightens, your breathing gets shallow, your mind races, you might feel dizzy or disconnected. And that fear right there, it's strong, but it passes. Every single time, it passes. No matter how long it lasts, no matter how intense it gets, your body always returns to balance. That's proof. You've already survived it before. You'll survive it again. What's important is learning to respond differently, because most people fight the panic. They resist it. They tense up. They try to escape it. And that only makes it worse. It adds more fear to the cycle. But when you stop resisting, when you stop running from the feeling, it begins to lose its grip. It might still feel awful, but you stop believing it's going to destroy you. You stop giving it power it doesn't deserve. The body is reacting to stress. That's all. It's a chemical and physical response. But your mind interprets it as danger. That's the loop you have to break. You have to stop trusting that inner voice that tells you something horrible is happening. Because the truth is, nothing outside is causing the panic. It's all coming from inside. And if it's inside, you can learn to manage it. This starts with awareness. The next time you feel panic coming on, remind yourself, this feels bad, but it's not dangerous. Say it out loud if you need to. Repeat it in your mind. Anchor yourself in the fact that your body is going through a temporary response. It's like a wave. It builds, it peaks, it crashes, and then it's gone. Fighting the wave only exhausts you, but riding it, that gets you through. The sensations may be intense, but they are not harmful. You might feel like you're going to faint, but you won't. Your brain is still functioning. Your heart is strong. You're still in control, even if it doesn't feel like it. And the more you accept this, the more your body begins to calm, because your body listens to your thoughts. If your thoughts say, this is danger, your body reacts with more fear. But if your thoughts say, this is temporary, your body slowly relaxes. That's not easy at first. It takes practice. It takes repetition. You might not get it right every time. That's okay. What matters is progress, not perfection. Each time you face panic, and remind yourself it won't kill you, you're building strength. You're retraining your brain. You're teaching your body that it's safe even when it feels uncomfortable. And here's the thing. Panic always passes. Always. It might feel like forever when you're in it, but it ends. You don't need to do anything special to make it stop. You just need to breathe. Stay present. Allow the sensations to come and go. The more you chase it away, the more it stays. The more you allow it, the faster it fades. When you're in a panic, your first instinct is to escape, to leave the room, to call someone, to distract yourself, and sometimes those things help in the moment. But long term, you have to learn to stay. You have to learn to sit with the fear, to face it without needing to run. That's how your brain starts learning that the fear isn't real. That's how you take your life back. There's power in staying still, in breathing through it, in saying, I don't like this, but I can handle it, because you can. You've handled hard things before. You've been through things much more painful than panic. You're still here. You're still standing. Don't let fear convince you that you're weak. You're not. You're just human, and your body is reacting to stress the only way it knows how. Panic is uncomfortable, yes, but it's not deadly. Accepting that doesn't mean you like it. It means you stop fearing it. And when the fear of the panic goes down, the panic itself begins to lose intensity. That's the key. Not to stop the panic instantly, but to remove its control over your life. To stop letting it make your decisions. To stop letting it keep you stuck. You don't need to avoid situations just because panic might show up. You don't need to cancel your plans, avoid crowds, skip events or stay home just to feel safe. Because safety is not found in avoiding life. It's found in trusting yourself to handle what shows up, panic included. And the way you build that trust is by facing it again and again. You don't need to win some giant battle. You just need to take the next step, one moment at a time, one breath at a time, one breath at a time, one situation at a time. Each time you get through a panic attack without losing control, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you're stronger than the fear. And once you've seen that for yourself, the fear starts to fade. The people who overcome panic aren't the ones who never feel it. They're the ones who stop running from it, who stop making it the enemy, who learn to live life fully, even with the discomfort. You can be that person. You already have what it takes. You just need to stop believing the lie that panic equals danger. It doesn't. It feels real. It feels powerful. But feelings aren't always facts. Panic is a storm of false alarms. And just like a storm, it passes. Your job is not to fix it or erase it. Your job is to ride it through, to stay grounded, to stay breathing, and to remind yourself that even though it feels bad, you are safe. You'll come out the other side stronger every time. That strength builds layer by layer. Over time, your brain starts to believe the truth, that you're okay, that your body knows how to come back to balance, that fear doesn't get to lead anymore. Start with one panic attack, one moment, one breath, face it, breathe through it, let it come, let it go. Do that over and over until it becomes normal, until you stop fearing the feeling, until it becomes just another thing you know how to handle. You're not fragile, you're not broken, you're not weak for feeling this. You're learning, you're adjusting, you're healing. Panic is not the end, it's a signal, and now you know how to listen without being controlled by it. So the next time it rises up, stand your ground, remind yourself what's true. This feels bad, but it will pass. This feels intense, but I'm safe. This feels scary, but it can't hurt me. You'll get through it. You always have, and each time you do, you become more resilient, more clear, more in control. Panic might visit, but it doesn't stay. Fear might knock, but it doesn't own you. You are free to live, even with the panic, even with the fear, because they don't define you, they don't stop you, and they don't have the power they once did, not anymore. Chapter 4. Train your focus on what you can control. Most of what we worry about lives outside of our control. We stress about what others think. We replay things we said. We try to predict how something might go tomorrow, next week or next year. We carry around outcomes that haven't even happened yet. That's one of the biggest reasons we feel anxious. Our minds are constantly reaching for things we can't touch. And the more we focus on what we can't control, the more powerless we feel. There's a better way to live, and it starts by pulling your focus back. You have to bring your attention to what's actually in front of you. You can't change what someone else says or does. You can't change the past. You can't force life to unfold a certain way. but you can choose what you give your energy to. You can decide where your focus goes, and that's where your strength begins. Your mind has habits. It wants to go back to what's familiar. If it's used to scanning for problems or worst-case scenarios, it'll keep doing that unless you step in and interrupt it. Focus isn't automatic. It's trained. It's something you build by practicing it every single day. You start by noticing where your thoughts go. When you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, am I thinking about something I can change right now? If the answer is no, bring your attention back. Most people don't even realize how much time they spend thinking about what they can't change. They play out conversations that already happened. They try to rewrite moments that are long gone. Or they try to control how others view them. But none of that brings peace. None of that solves anything. All it does is feed stress, feed fear, feed uncertainty. You want peace, then shift your focus, lock it onto what you can do, right now, in this moment. You can control your attitude. You can control how you respond. You can control what you feed your mind, what you allow into your day, how you take care of your body, how you speak to yourself, how you treat others. That's not small, that's everything. If you give all your energy to what's outside of your reach, you'll always feel like something's missing. But if you pour that energy into what's in front of you, life starts to feel manageable again. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about choosing where to put your effort. If you can't change the situation, focus on how you move through it. If you can't fix the outcome, focus on the process. You don't have to know how everything will turn out. You just need to know the next right thing to do. And you do that one thing, then the next. That's how real change happens, not all at once, but step by step, choice by choice. There's so much noise in the world, so many things pulling at your mind. But most of them are distraction. News headlines, opinions, drama, pressure. It can all flood your brain and leave you feeling scattered. That's why you need focus. You need to train your mind to stay clear, even when everything around you is loud. You need to get good at coming back to center, back to what matters, back to what you can control. When panic hits, it pulls your attention in every direction. You start worrying about what's happening, what might happen, what people will think, how long it'll last. But the truth is, in that moment, all you can do is breathe. All you can do is ground yourself. Your focus has to shrink. Not because you're weak, but because that's what helps you feel strong again. You stop trying to manage everything and start managing the moment. And that applies to more than panic. It applies to life. When things feel out of control, narrow your view. Focus on what's real, what's now, what's yours to carry. There's power in simplicity. There's peace in choosing what matters. And most of the time, it's not the big picture that needs fixing. It's your focus. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to know where everything's going. What you need is a clear head, a steady mind, a heart that knows where to put its energy. You don't build that by chance. You build it by training your focus, by noticing when your thoughts are slipping away and bringing them back again and again. And at first, it'll feel hard. Your mind will fight it. It'll want to wander. But you bring it back. That's the work. Not judging yourself when it drifts, but gently guiding it to where it needs to be. That's how you take your power back from fear, from anxiety, from everything you can't control. You're not here to manage the whole world. You're here to take care of your piece of it. That means your mind, your habits, your choices. That means showing up for yourself, even when life doesn't go your way. Especially then, because that's when it counts. That's when real growth shows up. Not when things are easy, but when they're uncertain and you stay focused anyway. It's not a one-time thing. You train focus like a muscle. You practice it every time you wake up and choose a positive action instead of worry. You're training focus every time you feel your thoughts pulling you into fear, and you stop and breathe instead. You're training focus every time you stop scrolling, stop overthinking, stop reacting, and choose to act with purpose. You're training focus, and that adds up. Start small. If your thoughts are racing, slow them down. Focus on what you can touch, what you can see, what you can do. Clean your space. Go for a walk. Write something down. Turn off distractions. Do one thing with full attention. Don't do it to feel better instantly. Do it because you're building something. Do it because you're reclaiming your peace. You might not be able to control the weather, or people, or outcomes, but you can control your focus. And when you do that, everything else becomes easier to carry. You stop getting pulled into chaos. You stop living in constant reaction. You become the one who leads your own mind. Life will always throw things your way, but how you meet those things depends on your focus. If you stay locked on what's out of your hands, you'll always feel out of balance. But if you bring your attention back to what's yours, your breath, your next step, your effort, then you start to feel steady again. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out, but you do need to stay aware. You need to notice when your focus is drifting into fear, into regret, into what-ifs, and when that happens, you breathe, you pause, and you bring it back. That's how you take care of your mind. That's how you stay calm in chaos, not by fixing everything around you, but by choosing where you place your energy, over and over, day by day. There is peace available to you. It's not somewhere far away. It's in the space between your thoughts. It's in the way you slow down, the way you stay present, the way you choose not to chase what you can't control. That peace comes when you train your focus. And once you find it, you protect it. You give it your full attention, because that's where your real power lives.
Chapter 5. Question every thought that makes you feel weak. Most people never stop to question their thoughts. They hear something in their mind, and they believe it. They feel something, and they assume it's true. They let every self-doubt, every fear, every negative voice take over without ever asking where it came from or whether it deserves their trust. That's where so much suffering comes from, not the situations themselves, but the way we interpret them, the way we speak to ourselves, the way we believe every thought without checking if it's honest, helpful, or even real. You've probably had thoughts like, I can't handle this, or I'm not strong enough, or something's wrong with me, and those thoughts can hit hard. They don't whisper, they shout. They fill your chest with heaviness and your head with fear. But just because a thought is loud doesn't mean it's true. And just because it's familiar doesn't mean it belongs. You don't have to believe everything you think, especially not the ones that tear you down. Your mind is always working. It picks up messages from the world, from your past, from things people said to you, from moments you couldn't process fully. And it turns them into stories. Over time, those stories become your beliefs. If no one taught you how to question them, you start living like they're facts. That's how you end up feeling stuck, believing thoughts that aren't serving you. It's time to slow down and pay attention. The next time you feel weak, overwhelmed, or hopeless, stop and listen. What are you thinking? What are you saying to yourself? Don't just push the feeling away. Get curious about it. Ask yourself, what thought created this feeling? Then ask the next question, is this thought actually true? Most of the time it won't be. Thoughts that make you feel weak usually have one thing in common. They're based in fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough.
But fear is not fact. It's an emotional response, and it grows when you never challenge it. The more you accept those fear-based thoughts without questioning them, the more they take over your decisions. They shape how you see yourself. They shape what you believe you can or can't do, and that shapes your entire life. But here's the shift: you can challenge those thoughts. You can interrupt them. You can say, hold on, where did this idea come from? Who told me I wasn't capable? Who made me believe that I'll always struggle? Once you start asking those questions, something amazing happens. The fear starts to lose its grip. The thought doesn't hit as hard. You stop being pulled down by a lie that never had any right to stay in your head. You are not your thoughts. You're the observer, the thinker, the one who decides what stays and what goes. When a thought tells you you're weak, you can push back. You can ask, what proof do I have that this is true? You'll find that most of the time, you have more evidence for your strength than for your weakness. But you've spent more time focusing on the wrong evidence. Now it's time to shift. Even when you feel panic or fear, that doesn't mean you're broken. It means your body is responding to stress. It means your system is trying to protect you. But if your thoughts say, this means I'm weak, that's the thought you need to confront. Panic doesn't make you weak. Fear doesn't make you weak. Avoiding your potential, shrinking your power, believing lies about yourself, that's what slowly drains you, and that can be reversed. That can be rebuilt. You have to become your own defender, your own filter. When a thought enters your mind that brings you down, stop it. Ask, would I say this to someone I care about? If not, then it doesn't belong in your mind either. We're often our harshest critics, and that inner critic grows louder when we don't set boundaries with it. This isn't about fake positivity. It's not about pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's about choosing thoughts that are grounded, honest, and useful. A thought that makes you feel stronger might be simple. It might be, I've been through worse and made it, or this is hard, but I can manage it, or even just, I'm learning. Those are real. They don't deny your struggle, but they remind you of your strength. It's also important to look at where your beliefs started. Some of the thoughts that bring you down didn't start with you. Maybe someone planted them when you were younger. Maybe a bad experience reinforced them. Maybe you failed once and started thinking you'll always fail. But the past is not a blueprint for the future, and a belief is just a repeated thought that never got challenged. You can begin to rewrite those beliefs, but first, you have to notice them. You have to catch them in real time. It might sound like, I always mess things up. Stop right there. Ask, is that true? Always. What about the things I've done well? This process is not about lying to yourself. It's about finding the full truth. And the full truth includes your resilience, your effort, your growth. When you question those harmful thoughts consistently, you build a new relationship with your mind. You stop fearing it. You stop letting it control you. You become more confident, not because the thoughts are gone, but because they don't define you anymore. You start to think with intention. You become more clear, more grounded, more you. And let's be honest, this takes practice. It won't happen in a day. You might catch a thought, question it, and still feel unsure. That's okay. Keep questioning. Keep coming back. You're not trying to shut down your thought. You're trying to guide them. Over time, you'll get better at spotting the ones that don't serve you. You'll get better at replacing them with thoughts that keep you moving forward. You are not weak for having doubt. You are not weak for needing to pause and reflect. That's part of growth. What makes you strong is your willingness to face what's inside, to not accept every thought as truth, to stop giving automatic power to the voice in your head, and start giving that power back to yourself. Start today. Listen carefully. Every time a thought says you're not enough, question it. Every time your mind tells you you're stuck, ask if that's really the case, because you're never as stuck as you think you are. Sometimes you just need to stop believing the thought that says you are. Build that habit. Get in the routine of checking in with yourself. Don't let your mind go unchallenged. You wouldn't let someone else talk down to you every day, so why let your own mind do it? Speak with clarity, think with courage, choose thoughts that bring you closer to peace. That's how you change your life, not by waiting for better circumstances, but by building better thinking, one thought at a time, one question at a time. You already have the strength. It's just buried under too many lies. Start clearing them out, start standing up to them, and watch how your energy changes. Watch how your confidence grows. Watch how your entire life begins to shift. Just because you stopped accepting thoughts that made you feel small. You don't need anyone's permission to take your power back. You just need to decide that from now on, every thought must earn its place in your mind. If it doesn't make you stronger, clearer, or more focused, it's not welcome. This is your mind. These are your thoughts, and you have the final say. Chapter 6. Stand up and do something that grounds you. When your mind starts spinning and your emotions feel like too much to carry, the fastest way back to yourself is to stand up and do something that brings you into the present. Not something complicated, not something dramatic, just something real. Something simple, something that reminds you that you are here, alive, and still in control of what you do next. Most people stay stuck in their head when they're overwhelmed. They lie still, they scroll, they overthink, they shut down, and that only makes it worse. The more you sit in that loop, more distant everything starts to feel, the more helpless you become. But you don't need to wait for clarity to come to you. You can create it with movement. You can create it by reconnecting with the moment you're in. This isn't about avoiding what you feel. It's not about pretending you're okay. It's about giving your mind a break from trying to solve everything all at once. Because sometimes your brain needs your body to take the lead. When your thoughts are too loud, let your actions become louder. Action doesn't fix everything, but it gives your brain something solid to hold on to. When you feel like you're spiraling, the first step is to get up. Stand up. Even if it's hard. Even if your body feels heavy. Even if your mind is screaming at you to stay still. Standing up is a signal. It tells your nervous system that you're not frozen, that you're still capable, that you still have choices. That simple shift from stillness to movement can start to loosen the grip of anxiety. After you stand, the next step is to do something, anything, that reconnects you with your environment. Touch something cold, splash water on your face, step outside for fresh air, feel the ground under your feet. These actions are small, but they're powerful. They bring you back to your senses. They pull your awareness out of your head and into your body. And in that shift, even if it's just for a few seconds, you feel more stable. When you find the right grounding actions for you, repeat them often, make them part of your routine. They should be simple enough to do anywhere and strong enough to redirect your focus. It might be walking, cleaning, drinking a glass of water slowly, writing in a notebook, stretching, listening to calming music, breathing deeply while looking at something still. These things don't solve your problems, but they give you enough space to handle them better. You don't need a perfect plan to feel grounded. You need something reliable, something that reminds you that you are not just your thoughts, that you are not just your fear, that you have a body, that you have control over what you do in this moment. That's where your stability lives, in what you can choose right now. Sometimes grounding looks like moving your body in silence. Other times it's doing something repetitive with your hands, washing dishes, folding clothes, watering plants. These acts are often overlooked, but they carry more peace than we give them credit for. They give your anxious mind something steady to focus on, something real, something that doesn't require solving or fixing. Just, if you've ever felt disconnected, like you're floating or lost, then grounding is the way back. It's the reminder that you're here, that your feet are on the floor, that the world isn't falling apart, even if your mind says it is. And when you do that enough, your brain starts to understand that fear doesn't have to control every moment. You don't have to wait until you're calm to do grounding actions. You do them because you're not calm. You do them even when you don't feel like it. Especially then, you show your nervous system what safety looks like through repetition, through showing up again and again until those small habits become your foundation. If you've been stuck in anxiety, chances are you've spent too long trying to think your way out of it. But thoughts can be deceptive. They loop. They exaggerate. They feed fear. And if you're trying to solve everything in your mind, you'll end up exhausted. That's why doing something physical matters. It gives your system a reset. It cuts through the noise and gives you something you can control. You may not be able to control how you feel today, but you can control whether you sit or stand. You can control what you do with your hands. You can control whether you step outside or take a breath or drink some water. These things seem small, but they are choices, and choice is power. Choice reminds you that you are still capable, even on the hardest days. The key is consistency. Don't wait for a crisis to start grounding. Make it part of your normal life. Build habits that reconnect you before the panic hits. That way, when fear does show up, you're not caught off guard. You already have a plan. You already have a process. You don't have to think about what to do. You just do it. And that brings confidence. That brings relief. Even a few minutes of grounding can make a difference. It's not about escaping your emotions. It's about anchoring yourself so you can feel them without drowning. When your mind tells you that you can't handle something, grounding shows you that you can. When fear tells you the worst is coming, grounding reminds you that right now, in this exact second, you are safe. The more you practice grounding, the faster your body learns that not every surge of emotion means danger, that not every anxious thought deserves a reaction, that you are more than your panic, more than your fear, more than your overthinking. You are someone who knows how to come back to center, who knows how to pause, reset and keep moving forward. There's nothing weak about needing grounding. In fact, it takes strength to stop and do something healthy when your mind is spiraling. It takes discipline to pause and say, I need to come back to myself before I make any decision. That kind of self-awareness is something you build with time, with effort, with repetition. You don't need a full hour. You don't need fancy tools. You need a few solid actions you can return to any time. Think of them like anchors. When life pulls you in every direction, these are the things that hold you steady. You're not looking for distraction. You're looking for connection. With your body, with your senses, with your surroundings. When you commit to grounding yourself, even in small moments, you take ownership of your mind again. You stop letting fear make every choice. You stop letting panic take the wheel. You show yourself that there is always a next step, even when it feels like everything is spinning. That step might be small. It might be quiet, but it's yours. You are not fragile. You are not falling apart. You are learning how to stay grounded in a world that constantly tries to pull you away from yourself. And that is one of the most powerful things a person can do. To stay centered, to stay present, to stay calm, not because the world is perfect, but because you've built something inside yourself that nothing can take. Every time you stand up and do something that grounds you, you're telling your fear, you don't control me. You're showing your nervous system, I know how to handle this. And you're reminding yourself, I'm still here. I'm still strong. I'm still moving forward. That's the power you carry with you every single day. Use it. Trust it. Keep choosing it, no matter what shows up. Chapter 7. Tell someone you trust what you truly feel. Keeping everything inside can feel like control. You think if you hold it all in, no one will see your pain. No one will judge you. No one will think less of you. So you put on a face. You smile when you're hurting. You act like you're fine when your chest is heavy. And the longer you keep it in, the more you feel alone, even when you're surrounded by people. What you're carrying gets heavier by the day, but you stay silent, not because you don't want help, but because somewhere deep down, you're afraid that if you speak the truth, everything will fall apart. That fear is what keeps so many people stuck. But the real damage doesn't come from sharing how you feel. It comes from hiding it for too long. The moment you tell someone you trust what you truly feel is the moment you finally breathe again. Not the shallow kind of breath you take when you're trying to hold it together. A real breath. One that says, I don't have to carry all of this by myself anymore. That moment is not weakness. It's not breakdown. It's release. It's honesty. It's strength in its rawest form. You might think nobody would understand. You might believe you'll be judged or misunderstood or dismissed. But staying silent doesn't protect you. It isolates you. It puts you in a mental prison where fear and shame grow louder every day. Talking doesn't make the pain go away instantly, but it lets some light in. It gives you space to understand your own emotions better. Saying things out loud helps you face them. When you speak, you begin to make sense of what you've been holding. You give your pain structure, and once it has shape, you can begin to work through it. There is power in being heard, not fixed, not analyzed, just heard. When someone looks you in the eyes and says, I hear you, something inside begins to settle. It's the kind of peace that comes from no longer hiding. You don't need someone to give you all the answers. You don't need them to solve everything. You just need someone who won't look away when you open up. That one connection can be the difference between breaking apart and breaking through. You don't have to tell the world. You don't have to write a post or make an announcement. But you do need at least one person who knows the real you, the version of you that feels scared, unsure, overwhelmed. Keeping everything to yourself doesn't make you strong. It makes you suffer silently, and you've already done enough of that. Think about someone you trust, someone who listens without judging, someone who holds space without trying to control the conversation. That's the person you start with. You don't need to prepare a perfect speech. You just need to speak from where you are. You can say, I'm not doing well lately, or there's something I've been needing to talk about, or even just, can you listen for a minute? That's enough to start. Once the door opens, everything you've been holding begins to come out. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be unsure of what you're trying to say. Emotions aren't always clear. Sometimes you won't know exactly what you feel until the words start flowing. That's why talking is important. It brings clarity. It helps you organize your inner world. What felt tangled starts to loosen, and with every word you speak, the weight gets a little lighter. You might not get the perfect response. Some people won't know what to say. That's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their discomfort with emotions. But that doesn't mean you should stop trying. The right person will listen. And when they do, you'll know what real support feels like. Speaking your truth isn't just about release. It's about rebuilding trust with yourself and with others. When you open up, you're saying, I matter enough to be heard. That's the beginning of healing. That's when you stop running from your emotions and start understanding them. That's when the shame starts to fade and self-respect starts to grow. Fear will try to convince you to stay quiet. It will tell you that people won't get it, that you'll look weak, that nothing will change. But fear doesn't know the power of connection. It doesn't understand what happens when someone sees you for who you really are and chooses to stay. That kind of moment can shift something deep in your heart. It can remind you that you're not broken, you're human. And sometimes when you speak honestly, You give others permission to do the same. Your courage creates a safe space. Your words let someone else feel less alone. Pain that's shared doesn't multiply. It divides. It gets light, and over time that openness becomes the bridge between suffering and healing. You deserve to be known, not just for the version of you that looks fine, not just for your accomplishments, but for the thoughts that keep you up at night, for the fears you've been carrying, for the weight you've held without letting anyone see. That version of you is worthy of love, worthy of support, worthy of being heard. This doesn't mean you have to share everything with everyone. Boundaries matter, discernment matters, but hiding your truth from everyone, including yourself, leads to emotional exhaustion. You deserve more than that. You deserve to be real, even if it feels messy, especially then. Opening up might not feel natural at first. You might stumble through your words. You might feel vulnerable afterward, but don't confuse discomfort with danger. Feeling exposed is part of being honest, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Eventually telling the truth doesn't feel scary. It feels free. It feels like stepping into your own life fully, without pretending. And here's what often happens. You realize people care more than you thought. They're more understanding than you expected. And even if they don't have all the right words, their presence is enough. Their willingness to sit with you through it is enough. You start to feel seen, and that alone begins to change everything. Don't wait for the right time to open up. That moment may never come. The right time is when you're tired of carrying everything by yourself. When you know that silence is no longer serving you. That's the signal. That's when you pick up the phone or sit down with someone and say, I need to talk. And if no one comes to mind right now, don't give up. Look for safe spaces, a counselor, a mentor, a support group, a friend who always makes you feel calm. There are people out there who can hold space for your truth. You just have to give them a chance. You are allowed to need support. You are allowed to lean on others. That doesn't make you dependent. That makes you human. We were never meant to carry emotional weight alone. Life is hard enough without pretending to be invincible. So take that first step. Say the thing you've been holding back. Speak even if your voice shakes. Feel even if your heart pounds. The person you're talking to doesn't need to fix it. They just need to hear it. And once you speak, something begins to shift. You begin to rise. You're not alone in this. You never were. You just convinced yourself you had to deal with it quietly. But you don't. You can speak. You can share. You can be honest and still be strong. And when you do, you'll find that the world isn't as cold as your silence made it feel. There is warmth out there, connection, safety, understanding. But you won't feel it until you open the door and let someone in. Tell someone you trust what you truly feel. That one act might not solve everything, but it's the first step toward everything changing. That step is yours to take, and you're ready.
Chapter 8. Take back control by doing what scares you. Fear has a way of shrinking your life without you even noticing. It starts with one decision to avoid something uncomfortable, then another, then a few more. Before long, your world gets smaller, and you start saying no to things you used to want. You stop showing up. You stop exploring. You stop trusting yourself to handle what might go wrong. You give fear the keys, and it begins driving every choice you make. The hard part is, it doesn't always feel dramatic. It creeps in slowly, one excuse at a time, one silent retreat after another, until one day you wake up and realize that you've built your entire routine around staying comfortable, staying safe, staying out of the way of anything that might trigger anxiety. But you can't live like that and feel free. You can't avoid what scares you and still feel strong. Real confidence doesn't come from staying where it's safe. It comes from moving through the thing that makes your heart race. It comes from acting when everything in your body is screaming at you to stop. Because that's the moment where growth lives. That's the moment where the power shifts back into your hands. The moment you do what scares you, you start to reclaim your life. No one is born fearless. Everyone has something they avoid.
Everyone knows what it's like to freeze when a situation feels too big or too uncertain. But the difference between staying stuck and moving forward is whether or not you're willing to step toward the fear instead of away from it. Not all at once, not recklessly, but one step, then another. You test the fear. You look it in the face and you say, "You don't decide for me anymore." Most of the time, fear isn't even about real danger. It's about discomfort. It's about the unknown. It's about what might happen if things don't go perfectly. But your brain doesn't always know how to tell the difference. It reacts to fear the same way it reacts to actual threats. That's why you feel your heart pounding, your breathing getting shallow, your muscles tightening. But nothing's chasing you. Nothing's about to harm you. It's just your nervous system reacting to a story your mind is telling. And you can interrupt that story, not by thinking your way out of it, but by acting through it. You don't build courage by talking about fear. You build it by facing the moment you usually run from. You build it by walking into the place where you normally back away. The first time is always the hardest. That's when everything feels loud and uncertain. But if you push through, even just a little, something changes. Your body starts to settle. Your mind realizes that nothing terrible happened. And your belief in yourself grows. It grows because you did something you used to avoid. It grows because you took your power back from the fear. It doesn't have to be something massive. It might be making a phone call you've been putting off. It might be going to that event alone. It might be speaking up in a room where you usually stay silent. These moments feel small to others, but you know how big they are. And that's what matters. You know what fear has been keeping you from. And you know which steps will help you reclaim that space. You can start right now. Think about one thing you've been avoiding. Not because it's impossible, but because it makes you nervous. Something you care about. Something you've talked yourself out of too many times. That's your starting point. That's where you draw the line. And say, "I'm tired of being controlled by." Don't wait until you feel ready. You probably won't. Fear doesn't just disappear. You act while it's still there. That's what makes the action meaningful. That's what creates change. It's not about feeling brave before you move. It's about moving while you feel scared and realizing that you can handle it. You've already made it through things you once thought you couldn't. Look back. You'll find moments where you were terrified and still moved forward. Those moments didn't break you. They shaped you. They made you more capable. That same strength is still in you. You haven't lost it. It's just been buried under too many fearful thoughts. But you can access it again. And the way you do that is by taking action. Each time you do something that scares you, you take a piece of your life back. You regain trust in your ability to move through hard things. And that trust is priceless. It gives you the strength to face bigger challenges. It gives you the courage to dream again, to speak honestly, to show up fully. But you don't get that by avoiding. You get that by stepping into the moment with your whole heart, even when your hands are shaking. This is where real power lives, in the doing. In the choice to act, in the decision to no longer give fear the final say. Fear might always speak, but you don't have to listen. You can hear it and still move. You can feel anxious and still show up. You can feel the tightness in your chest and still take a breath and step forward. It's okay to be scared, but don't let that be the reason you stop. Let it be the reason you try harder. Let it be the reason you prove something to yourself. That you're not the same person you were yesterday. That you're no longer controlled by the past. That you're someone who moves forward, no matter what. Fear becomes weaker every time you act in spite of it. It loses its grip when you stop avoiding it. It starts to dissolve When you realize that the worst-case scenario your mind created never happens the way you imagined, you start to trust yourself more. You start to believe in your ability to recover, to adapt, to grow. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be willing to try, willing to show up, willing to do the thing even though it's hard. That's where everything begins. That's where your life starts to expand again. Because when you stop avoiding, you start living. You start experiencing what it means to be fully present, fully engaged, fully alive. You're not doing this to impress anyone. You're doing it to be free. Free from the loop of fear. Free from the anxiety that shows up when you keep yourself small. Free from the frustration of watching your own life from the sidelines. It's your life. You get to decide what you say yes to. You get to decide what matters. And if something matters to you, it's worth facing the fear that stands in front of it. You already know what fear has cost you. Now ask yourself what courage could give you. What would happen if you stepped into the thing you've been avoiding? What would open up if you stopped saying no because of fear? That's a life worth exploring. That's a life you can build, one act of courage at a time. You are more capable than you think. You are stronger than your fear. And the only way to truly prove that to yourself is by doing the thing. Not later. Not when everything feels easier. Now. While it still scares you. While it still challenges you. While it still forces you to grow. And when you do that, something inside shifts. You feel yourself getting stronger. Not in theory, but in reality. In action. In proof. You start to become the kind of person who doesn't back down. Not because you never feel fear, but because you've learned how to move through it. That kind of strength can't be faked. It can't be handed to you. It has to be earned, and you earn it every time you take one step forward. Even when your whole body wants to pull back, that step, no matter how small, matters more than any perfect plan. Because it's real. Its movement's yours. Take back control by doing what scares you. That's how your life changes. That's how your confidence builds. That's how you begin to trust yourself again. Not someday. Not when you feel fearless. But today. Right now. Starting with one decision that says, fear doesn't lead my life anymore. I do.
Chapter 9. Let yourself feel it without fighting the feeling. Most people are taught to run from uncomfortable emotions. When sadness comes, they distract themselves. When anger shows up, they push it down. When anxiety rises, they try to talk themselves out of it. Over time, this becomes the habit. Deny it, ignore it, bury it, and pretend it's not there. But what you resist grows stronger. What you fight, fights back. And what you suppress doesn't disappear, it just waits. It waits to surface again, louder, heavier, and harder to handle. That's why the only way to truly move forward is to feel what you feel without trying to escape it. It's not easy. Letting yourself feel something that hurts, confuses, or scares you takes real strength. It takes courage to sit still when every part of you wants to run, but feeling the emotion is not what breaks you. Avoiding it is. The longer you avoid an emotion, the more power it gains. The more you suppress it, the more disconnected you become from your own truth. You begin to lose touch with what's really going on inside of you, and eventually that pressure builds until it starts showing up in other ways. Panic attacks, mood swings, exhaustion, constant irritability. You think it's coming out of nowhere, but it's not. It's coming from everything you never allowed yourself to feel. Your emotions are not your enemy. They're messengers. They're trying to tell you something. They're asking you to listen, not to fix. When you stop fighting them, they soften. When you let them in, they begin to pass.
But you have to stop labeling them as wrong. Feeling scared doesn't mean something is wrong with you. Feeling lost doesn't mean you're broken. Feeling overwhelmed doesn't mean you've failed. It just means you're human. You're reacting to something that matters. You're experiencing life in real time, with a real heart and a real mind. You don't need to solve every feeling. You don't need to explain every emotion. You just need to sit with it for a while. Give it room. Let it move through you. Cry if you need to. Get quiet if you need to. Write it out. Speak it out. Just don't run. Don't numb it with distraction. Don't cover it up with fake positivity. There's nothing brave about pretending to be okay when you're not. What's brave is sitting in the middle of a heavy feeling and saying, I'm going to stay here with this until it softens. Some emotions don't have quick answers. Some days you won't understand exactly why you feel the way you do. That's okay. You don't need to force clarity. Sometimes your only job is to feel the wave without trying to stop it. Let the sadness come. Let the anger rise. Let the fear sit beside you. Let the confusion take space. They're not here to destroy you. They're here to be acknowledged. If you were never taught how to feel safely, you might believe that emotions are dangerous. You might have been told to calm down, or get over it, or stop crying when you were younger. So now, when something strong shows up inside of you, your first instinct is to shut it down. But now you're old enough to do something different. You can unlearn the fear of feeling. You can choose to give yourself what you didn't get, permission to feel, without shame. Your emotions need expression. Not to be exaggerated, not to be dramatized, but to be noticed. You can feel sadness without collapsing. You can feel fear without giving up. You can feel grief without losing your center. You just have to stop resisting the natural process. Emotions, when allowed, are temporary. They rise, they peak, they fall, like a wave. But if you try to hold them back, they start to build underneath the surface. That's when they feel unbearable. Not because they're too strong, but because they've been trapped. To heal, you have to learn how to sit with yourself in your rawest moments. Not to fix, not to analyze, not to distract, but to be there, to feel the tight chest, to feel the lump in your throat, to notice the restlessness in your hands. This is your body talking. This is your system reacting, and the more you resist it, the longer it stays. But if you breathe into it, if you stay with it, if you let it move through, it starts to shift. You don't even have to do anything. You just have to stay. It's okay to slow down. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to move through everything quickly. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to feel heavy. You're allowed to not be okay for a little while. That doesn't mean you're stuck. That means you're being honest. And honesty is what heals. Sometimes the healing doesn't come from doing more. It comes from finally stopping. From getting quiet enough to hear what you've been ignoring. That silence is not emptiness. It's space. It's safety. It's where you reconnect with your own truth. You don't need someone else to validate what you feel. You don't need a perfect explanation. You just need to give yourself permission to feel without interruption. There's no wrong way to feel. Emotions don't follow logic. You might cry over something small because it triggered something big. You might get angry when you're actually scared. You might feel numb when you thought you'd feel everything. That's not a problem. That's just how emotions work. They're layered, they're complex, and they all have a right to exist. You're not weak for feeling deeply. You're not dramatic for needing space. You're not broken for having moments where you feel like everything is too much. You're someone who's learning how to be fully present with your own life. That's the kind of work most people avoid. But you're doing every time you sit with yourself instead of escaping. You're growing stronger. Don't rush your process. Don't compare your emotional timeline to someone else's. What you're feeling is valid. It matters. It's not too much. It's not wrong. It just needs to move through. And it will if you let it. The more you accept what's happening inside, the less power it holds over you. You begin to feel calm, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer fighting yourself. You don't need permission to feel. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. That moment is now. Feel what you feel. Stay with it. Let it rise. Let it fall. Trust that your body knows what to do. Trust that emotions, even strong ones, are not permanent. They come to be felt and then released. And once you've felt what you need to feel, you'll notice the shift. The air will feel a little lighter. Your thoughts will quiet down. Your body will feel more grounded. Not because the emotion is gone forever, but because you gave it space. You honored it. And now it no longer needs to scream for your attention. This is how healing happens, one feeling at a time, one breath at a time, one honest moment at a time. Not by forcing your way through, but by softening into the truth of what's there. Let yourself feel it. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just feel it. And in that space you'll find something you didn't expect, relief. Not because everything is fixed, but because you're finally free to feel without hiding. That's when you know you're healing. That's when you know you're home within yourself. Chapter 10. Decide right now that fear doesn't own you. There comes a point where you have to make a real decision, not a thought, not a wish, not something you say in your head and forget the next morning. A decision that changes how you live. A decision that separates your future from your past. And that decision is this: fear doesn't own you. Not anymore. Not from this moment forward. You don't serve it. You don't answer to it. You don't shape your life around what it tells you to avoid. You take your life back by choosing to stop letting fear make your decisions. Fear shows up in quiet ways. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It tells you to wait. It tells you to play it safe. It tells you it's not the right time. It convinces you that something bad will happen if you speak, move, act, try, or change. And if you're not careful, you believe it. You start adjusting everything to keep yourself comfortable. You say no to opportunities. You avoid conversations. You stay in patterns you've outgrown. All because fear made itself sound logical. But fear isn't logic. It's limitation dressed in protection. And the only way to outgrow it is to stop giving it authority over your choices. Fear will always try to convince you that you're not ready. But readiness is not the goal. Ownership is. You don't have to be completely fearless to move forward. You just have to decide that fear doesn't get the final say. You don't owe your loyalty to what scares you. You owe it to your future, to your peace, to your growth. That's what should be in control. Not fear. Not anymore. You might think fear is protecting you, and sometimes it is. But most of the time, especially when it's chronic, it's not warning you of danger. It's keeping you from becoming who you were meant to be. It wants you to avoid embarrassment, failure, discomfort, change. But those are the very things that stretch you. Those are the things that build you. Without them, you shrink. You live the same year again and again, calling it a life. And deep down, you know you're capable of more. You don't destroy fear by wishing it away. You take away its control by choosing against it. Every single time you act in spite of fear, you weaken its grip. You show your nervous system that fear is not a command. It's a signal, but not one you have to obey. And when you make that a habit, you begin to rewrite your entire identity. You stop being the person who's led by fear and start becoming the person who leads with clarity. That starts with one moment. Right now. This is the moment you draw the line. This is where you stop waiting for courage to appear and start choosing to live like you've already decided. You decide to speak when fear wants silence. You decide to show up when fear tells you to stay back. You decide to keep going when fear wants you to stop. You don't let fear shape your goals. You don't let it talk you out of trying. You don't let it decide how much of your life you get to live. You will still feel fear. That won't go away completely. But it doesn't have to leave. You can feel fear and still act. You can feel nervous and still show up. You can feel uncertain and still make the move. Fear doesn't disappear. You just get stronger than it. And the way you get stronger than it is by deciding right now that it no longer owns your time, your choices, or your voice. Think of all the things you didn't do because of fear, all the ideas you had, the people you wanted to talk to, the changes you knew you needed, the chances you passed up, not because you weren't ready, not because you weren't capable, but because fear said what if, and you listened. That's over. That ends today. You've given fear too many years, too many dreams, too much power. Now it's time to take it back. You take it back by stepping into the moments fear tries to steal. You make the call. You speak your truth. You say yes when your instinct is to hide. You make the move you've been thinking about for weeks, even if your heart is pounding, even if your voice shakes. That's the moment you grow. That's the moment you reclaim authority over your life. And here's what happens when you do that. You gain self-respect. You begin to trust yourself. Not because you always get it right, but because you show up anyway. That's what builds real confidence. Not pretending you're fearless, but showing yourself you can act with fear in the room. That kind of courage is earned, one decision at a time, one step at a time. Don't wait until the fear goes away. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait for perfect conditions. The people who create change don't wait. They move. They act with fear present. They choose progress over comfort. That's the path you need to walk. And you don't have to run. You just have to take the next step and keep deciding that fear doesn't get to lead. You are not fragile. You are not stuck. You are not defined by how fear has shaped your past. What matters now is what you choose from this moment forward. Will you keep giving fear your future? Or will you finally say, I hear you but you don't lead me anymore? That's a decision only you can make, and it doesn't require anything outside of you. It's not about motivation. It's about clarity. It's about choosing who you want to be. Even when fear tries to convince you otherwise, you might stumble, you might feel resistance, you might doubt yourself, but you keep going because you've already lived enough of your life playing small. You've already spent enough energy trying to avoid discomfort. Now it's time to grow into your strength. That strength has been waiting beneath the fear, not behind it, not after it, beneath it. It's been there all along. And the more you act from that place, the more your fear begins to change shape. It no longer feels like a wall. It starts to feel like a doorway, one you've already walked through, one you no longer avoid. And on the other side of that door is a version of you who lives fully, who speaks freely, who chooses boldly. That version of you isn't waiting. That version of you is already living. You just have to catch up. This is your moment, right here. Not someday, not when you've healed everything, not when everything's perfect. Right now, this is where you decide that fear no longer controls your life. That decision doesn't erase fear, but it takes away its control. And once you've made that decision, you carry it with you into every conversation, every room, every new beginning. Every time fear shows up, you remind it you've already decided. You don't debate it. You don't explain yourself. You just act from the place that knows your truth. That place is steady. That place is clear. And that place is yours. You've spent enough time waiting for fear to loosen its grip. Now it's time to take back what's always been yours. Your voice, your courage, your power. From this moment forward, fear does not own you. You move anyway. You speak anyway. You live anyway. And that is the decision that changes everything.